All rights reserved. Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world, you are watching NowMedia Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host. I am an investor, an entrepreneur, and a business strategist. What's most important about being here today is that I believe that when we share what's working in business, and maybe some of what's not, with some of our most successful entrepreneurs, iron sharpens iron, and we're able to elevate one another, elevate our businesses, elevate our lives. And the ripple effect, it not only impacts just us and our families and our teams, but also our communities and our world. I'm really excited to be here in studio today with a very special guest, a dear friend of mine, a fellow entrepreneur and founder, Jackie Spillman of Lone Star Signing. Welcome to the studio, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Jen. I'm so glad to be here.
I am really excited that you're here. For those of you at home, I have been working on Jackie for a long time to come in studio because I know that she has so much goodness to bring. We're going to talk about a little bit about what it's like to have that work-life balance as an entrepreneur and how she gets it all in, because she's not just an entrepreneur, but she's a rock star mom. And so, Jackie, I'd love to start that conversation off right there because it's very important that we have everything. It's hard to be an entrepreneur. We have to have all of the things in order in our business, but also in our home life. So talk to me a little bit about what does that look like, entrepreneurship and motherhood at the same time?
Okay, so first of all, I do have to say, my husband and I found out we were expecting when I was 43 years old. So I'm not just a mom and an entrepreneur, I'm an older mom and an entrepreneur. I have a daughter who's 28, she's grown, she's married, she's out of the house. And then we have our little one. Life changed. We had to have work-life balance. We had to have something that worked for our family, and commuting and working 50, 60 hours a week downtown Houston just didn't work for us. So we made a shift. We started a business and we found something that we were passionate about and something that worked for our family.
That's really fantastic. And starting up a business is really challenging. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, we call it sometimes. So tell me, you were an older mother. You were redoing the whole motherhood thing because you had someone grown already. And you started a business. So how were you able to put that in a container and still show up for your young one?
So I think calendaring, time blocking, setting aside time. I happen to be a morning person, so mornings aren't that difficult for me, but I do get up extra early in the morning so that I can have time for me, so that I can work on my goals and still be the best that I can be for my son when he wakes up.
That is really fantastic. And so you said some of my favorite things. Number one, you said time blocking. And you said calendaring and getting up early. Those are all part of routines that I actually share with you. And so tell us a little bit more, because I know plenty of our viewers are in the grind. They're entrepreneurs, they're entrepreneurs, they're investors, and they're trying to get that sort of flow so that they don't have the guilt associated with, I'm taking time away from my kids, my family, to grow my business, to achieve my goals. So what's time blocking look like? And what happens when, life happens and you have to revert to mom in the middle of your workday, for example?
So that's a great question. So I do set aside, I find that the best time for me is 8:30 to 12:30. That's the perfect time for me to get everything done that I need to get done. Everything after that can wait, and I work on that later. As far as being a mom and motherhood goes, my son is in school during the day, so I do have time for myself to work on my business and work on my goals. But there was a time when he was actually at home and I was trying to do both. What I found was I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had to get things done so that I could take a break. So from 8 to 10 o'clock, I was taking a break. We were doing our activities, and then I would take an hour for myself. So stealing that time away and, making sure that I put in those 4 hours a day, even if it means breaking it up and not doing it all at the same time.
So I'm going to ask the next question, and I know my viewers have heard me ask this of other people before, but I'm really curious. Because you do have a young one, you are a powerhouse. You have started that business, you have grown the business. We'll get to the business in just a minute. But there are days when we just don't want to wake up and do it. There are days when we are like, I don't have it in me to get out of bed, or I just don't want to adult or have the responsibility. How do you get out of that funk? How do you get yourself moving in the morning on the days that you just don't want to do it?
Okay, so one of the things that I do, I write my goals down at night. I read those goals at night. First thing I do when I wake up, I read those goals again. I keep my goals at the forefront of my mind, and honestly, my why, my passion in life. I'd love for it to be more altruistic, but it really is that I want to live life on my terms. So I keep that in the forefront of my mind, and that's what I'm working towards.
I really like that. I want to live life on my terms. And that's why most of us go into entrepreneurship. We want to solve problems. We want to add value to our communities. But we also like that time freedom, the location freedom, the financial freedom that comes once we have a successful business. And so I really like that you set your goals ahead of time, because it feels to me like when you set your goals the night before, you're hitting the ground running on your terms because you've already set that intention and you already know exactly where you're going, instead of maybe in the morning waking up and allowing that kind of creep to come in and say, oh, I don't really want to get out of bed this morning.
We all have days where we just don't want to get up and we don't want to do things that we have to do. But I find doing those things first also takes a lot of pressure off of me, and it just helps me get my day started.
That's really fantastic. So Jackie, we've talked a little bit about how do we build a business as a mom, because that's a very important thing. And for the moms and dads out there, how do we not have that guilt around it? And you really put a solid container on your business time versus the time with your child. And so I think that's very admirable, and it's an excellent strategy. Talk to me a little bit about the business now. You started up the business. We had a lot of shift in the business economy. We know that economically things have happened, pandemic things have happened, and there's been a lot of change, especially in your business. So talk to us a little bit about your business and how you've navigated those changing waters.
So I do have to say that, owning a business wasn't my initial goal, but it's something that just kind of worked out. It worked out best for my family. So this is what we did. And if I'm going to have a business, I'm going to make sure that that business is as successful as it possibly can be. So my business is dependent upon low interest rates. We provide mobile notary services, and the bulk of our business came from refinances. Well, as you know, with the rising interest rates, people just weren't refinancing. So my business came to a screeching halt, and I had to learn how to pivot pretty quickly to make sure that I kept money coming in. And so marketing became a big part of what I'm doing, what I've done, and what I'm still doing. And that's what seems to be working for me right now. Just trying to navigate those waters is not always easy, but I try to keep a positive attitude, and I try to make sure that I remember my greater goal, my why I'm doing all of this.
Well, I heard some really good take notes on this, folks. If you're listening to this, focusing on her passion and her purpose, focusing on her why, getting back to what it is that she went into business for. She wanted to have that time freedom, that location freedom, and live life on her terms. And so, Jackie, what I really heard was pivoting, it kind of stunk. And yeah, it came to a screeching halt. For some of us, that happened in pandemic. If we had brick and mortar, all of a sudden, like we were shut down and we had to change. And it sounds like you've kind of pivoted very rapidly, because the interest rates, that's a relatively recent last 6 month situation. So talk to me about how that pivot has looked, because if people are not refinancing as much, like what other areas have you been able to capture and move into so that you could capture that revenue and keep your business growing?
So property is still changing hands. People are still buying and selling property, and our business is nationwide. So we're not limited to just Texas. And so one of the things that I did was I went to areas where property was moving pretty quickly, and I grabbed business in those states. So we're doing a lot of business in Florida and in Arizona. Those are just some of the areas that we saw where there was a lot of activity, and we entered that market, and we're doing very well.
That's really fantastic. And I mean, let's be real. Houston still has not Houston, but Texas in general still has an influx of people. So there's a lot of people in the market looking. And I know that the interest rates are high right now, but I've seen a lot of activity in the real estate market in the last couple of weeks, especially. I guess it's getting ready for prime season.
I think so, and I think we're going to see an uptick in property, just in activity, and I think interest rates will probably come down a little bit.
Well, we can hope for that. I know everybody's hoping for that, especially our first-time home buyers. Like, it was really a shock to the system, right? You're in the industry, so it was kind of interesting. I'm old enough, and I'm telling on myself, I'm old enough to remember when interest rates on houses were 18%, 14%, and so to me, 6%, 7%, like, that's low overall over the lifetime that I've had. But for people who are just familiar with since 2009, and especially since the pandemic, it's become the norm to expect 4, 3, 2, whatever. So talk to me about like the overarching scheme of things as these become the new normal, because I don't believe it's going to go back to 1.9 on a refinance anytime soon.
I don't think it will either, and I don't know that interest rates should have ever been that low to begin with. I think we are going to have a new normal. I'm hoping that things will settle down maybe around the 4 or 5. That would be great. But even if not, where we are right now for interest rates, as you mentioned, is still historically pretty low.
Absolutely. And I think it's happening in the greater economy. Everything's kind of shaking out. People are not really sure like where it's going to fall or where it's going to settle. But I think as it stabilizes, you'll start to see an uptick, because the reality is people, they need a place to live.
They do.
As far as I'm concerned, renting is still not a superior option to purchasing. And then, of course, when you have the equity in your house and that if that is your cash or where your cash is tied up and you need it, I think that refinance is still going to be a situation moving into the future.
Yeah,
so
I would agree with that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that it stabilizes soon for your sake and for the sake of everybody, because I think that uncertainty is more of a stressor and more of an emotional drain on all of us than even where the rate happens to be. It's like we're human beings. We don't like change.
No.
Like, we want stability. We don't want that fluctuation all the time. So we want to know what to expect. And I think we'll start to see that stability hopefully soon.
I think so too. And I think not only what you just mentioned, but the uncertainty. We had a gentleman who was a first-time home buyer, and he was purchasing his very first home. He submitted 39 offers before he got one.
Wow. So,
I mean, we're not at that level anymore. I mean, the market has calmed down enough to where people aren't, having to submit offers that are, 30-40% over asking anymore. But yeah, I mean, the market really was, we saw a lot of things in the market that we just haven't seen before.
I would say it was definitely overheated, and now we're getting that. And truthfully, with the days on market here in Houston, we're still not at a normal market. It's still a little bit inventory low.
It is. Yeah, it's technically still a seller's market.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, because we just went through that superheated time, and now we're kind of normalizing, and we're still in a better than average market, at least here locally. I know some places in the country not so much, but here in Texas, it's like business as usual. Yeah. Like nothing ever happened. So, and Florida, how is Florida? Because you mentioned that you're very heavy in Florida and Arizona. Are they still going pretty strong?
Florida's doing really good, because you have a lot of people, snowbirds, that are coming down from the Northeast and want to spend some time in Florida. Florida's also a great place for having a second home, and for retirees, and now all of the activity on the Space Coast of Florida. So Florida's a really popular destination.
Absolutely. In fact, truth be told, I'm looking at least a temporary move, like a part-time spending there. I spent a lot of time in Florida, actually, and I think there's a lot of similarities in the markets, really, because it's favorable to business. It's they're favorable from a climate standpoint. We're not freezing. Well, we're freezing today, but we're not freezing most of the year. So, Jackie, you have developed a business while doing all of the things that are required of us as women, and mothers, and you've been very, very successful doing it. And not only that, you've got a team. You've taken it from the local to the national level. That is not something most business owners are able to do. In small business, in fact, most small businesses don't even make it to 5 years, don't even make it outside of their small local area. Talk to me about what was it that you had that you were able to expand and grow and expand your territory to the national level, and you're still riding through the storm and in growth mode.
So for me, I just believe that anything is possible. If you can visualize it, if you can dream big enough, you can achieve it. So part of my morning routine is to visualize where I want to go, and I try to take those limits off and just kind of think about, okay, where do I want to be next year? Not only just next year, but where do I want to be this week? Where do I want to be next month? So I try to visualize where I want to go and develop a plan and move in that direction.
So earlier you talked about setting your goals the night before so that you hit the ground running in the morning. You have a morning routine that's setting you up for success. How important would you say it is for the morning routine, the PM routine? How important is that routine in business so that you can continue to be successful?
I think it's critical. I've had, as a business owner, you go through different seasons, and when I first started, interest rates were so low. We had a lot of business coming through the door. Well, I didn't always manage my business. I didn't always have a morning routine. But I will say, since developing that morning routine, it has made my life so much easier, because when I'm done with my day, when I've blocked off that time, I'm more present for my family, more present for my husband, more present for my son. I would say the time blocking is the one thing that has made a difference.
And you said something that's very key, and we've actually talked about it a lot on this show. You said you're more present for your family. So I have to ask the question, because one of the biggest things that comes up is there's guilt over not spending enough time with our families, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our children, our grandchildren, in my case, our grandchildren. But some entrepreneurs have a lot of guilt around that. But you said when you're fully present and you have that container, you're able to enjoy the time with your family. Would you say that is something that anybody who's watching could implement? And if so, how can they be more present with their families so that they don't have that guilt during the business day? Yeah,
so honestly, we have to spend time on our businesses. We have to. If you want to be successful, you have to invest a certain amount of time. So I would say make that your priority. When that is your priority, that is your priority. If you're working on your business, whatever time you've blocked out, whether it's 3 hours or 4 hours every single day, be faithful to that, be committed to that, and then when you're with your family, be committed to that as well.
And so how do you keep the distractions minimized? Because you can't tell me that you have a time block, but you have people on the West Coast, so maybe you're having dinner here, but that it's still business day on the West Coast. Like, how are you able to minimize the distraction and not get pulled away during your family time? Do you have some tips and tricks that you use?
So morning times are always the best for me. And that's when I get the most done. So if there are some things that I can foresee coming, and I try to make sure that I make those emails and those connections, all of those touch points. I do all of that in the morning so that hopefully I don't get distractions in the evening. Now, that's not to say that I don't check in the evenings. I do. I have to. So if an emergency comes up, yeah, I do have to take care of it, but it doesn't have to control the evening.
Got it. And it's the exception rather than the rule, because you've planned your day so well. I really love that. And so I'm going to ask another question, because it's something that it comes up a lot. It's something I get a lot of emails from our listeners and viewers on, and that's, what does your support look like? Because sometimes it's hard to find the right people to support you, have that kind of support in an entrepreneurial sense. It's not always our family if our family is not entrepreneurial. And sometimes we need a community around us for that extra little bit of support and stretch and growth. Who do you rely upon for your community, for your support, for your growth? What does that look like?
So number one support is my husband. He has been with me from the very beginning, and I can remember when we first started this business, and he would make the FedEx drops, and he would take the packages, and he would pick up documents. He would do whatever he needed to do to support me and help me out. But as I've grown, I've realized the value in coaching, the value in making sure that you're part of a networking group, part of a group that's moving in the same direction as you. And I think the value that coaching brings is a coach can see a little bit farther down the road than you can. They can see your blind spots before you can.
I am actually a coach. For those who maybe don't know, that would be a surprise because I say it almost every week. But, I have several. I have 7 myself, 7 coaches. And people are like, well, why do you have 7 coaches? And I agree with you completely, because they see the things that I can't. I'm good at the business and growing a business, but I don't see what I don't see. Like, I've got project eyes on my own businesses. I'm like in the growth phase, and they always show me something outside that maybe I haven't considered, or they're like, well, look over there. And so it's really important to have that objective perspective and someone who's been there to kind of collapse the time. Like I find that coaching collapses the time to my success, and that extra accountability, because I have to tell them. And if I don't, like on the days when I don't want to get up, I kid you not, those are the days that I'm dialing in the SOS with my coach, and I'm texting what I'm doing, because if I'm accountable to somebody else, like, I'm gonna get my butt in gear a whole lot faster.
Yeah. And I think that accountability is so important.
Absolutely. I really love that you said you have a group, you have the support of your spouse, because not everybody does. And there's other options out there. So I concur with you. The right group of people who are entrepreneurs, who are in the space, the right coaches, the right mentors, very, very important. We are about to go for a break, but before the break, based off of our conversation, if somebody is kind of living the life and trying to find that presence with their family, you've already talked about time blocking. What is one step that they can take to move towards that if they're kind of struggled and being pulled apart and not able to separate that family versus entrepreneurial time?
So I think another step would be communication. Not everybody has the flexibility, especially in the beginning. In the initial phases of starting up a business, you don't always have you don't always have the time to be able to say, okay, this is going to be when I do the business, and this is going to be when I'm with my family. I think communication, just communicating with your family, letting them know what you need from them and what they can and can't expect from you at that time.
That's absolute gold. So today we have heard about time blocking. We've talked about really dialing in our goals and being laser focused on why we're in business and what we want to do. And then in the morning, having a morning routine where we get to work, we get it done, we get it knocked out very rapidly, and then communication on top of that. What an amazing first half of this show. Stick around just a few more minutes. We'll be there, and we'll see you after these messages.
Proteja su salud y la de su familia con la cobertura adecuada. Si ustedes, como el resto de nosotros, que sabemos que la causa número 1 de bancarrota en el país son costos médicos inesperados debido a una mala cobertura, entonces les recomiendo que escuche con atención. Un copago del 20% de sus gastos médicos originados por una enfermedad como cáncer o un accidente podría eliminar en días los ahorros por los que trabajó toda su vida. Sin mencionar la necesidad de tener acceso a los mejores médicos y hospitales tras el tratado en eventos inesperados. Como dueño de una empresa, usted trabaja más duro que los demás y usted es el mayor riesgo. Por eso, cuando se trata de elegir un seguro de salud, es importante obtener la cobertura adecuada para usted y su familia con Clark Health Insurance. Nuestra misión es ayudar a los propietarios de pequeñas empresas, familias y contratistas independientes a elegir el plan de seguro de salud adecuado al costo correcto. Nosotros simplificamos el proceso y respondemos a todas sus preguntas sobre sus opciones de seguro médico y comparamos las políticas y los precios, obteniendo la mejor opción posible para usted. Además, podemos ofrecerle planes de visión y dentales suplementarios que podrían ahorrarle mucho dinero. En cada paso, Clark Health Insurance está dedicado a usted y su familia, enfocándonos en sus necesidades y guiándolo hacia las soluciones correctas. Juntos encontraremos una manera de maximizar su cobertura y minimizar los gastos de su bolsillo. Somos Clark Health Insurance. Proteja su salud y comience a ahorrar dinero en su seguro hoy.
As a critical aspect of your operations, You need the right technology partner to provide you and your business the peace of mind of having reliable and efficient IT systems. In addition, with cyber threats, ransomware at an all-time high, adequate, continuous, and proactive data protection for your business is an absolute must. Hi, this is Roland Parker with Impress Computer Solutions. We are experts in tailored IT solutions and professional 24/7 IT support services. We proactively monitor, maintain, manage, and protect your IT and data assets. Additionally, we have the know-how and horsepower to do the correct procuring of any and all computer systems or software your company may need. Having the correct IT infrastructure and not being able to operate safely and correctly is very expensive and can eventually destroy growth. So take a decisive step and call me today for a complimentary consultation at 281-647-9977 for your unique IT needs.
¿Alguna vez has deseado obtener mayor concentración y energía para ser más productivo? ¿O has deseado volver a dormir como cuando eras un niño y despertar descansado y listo para salir con toda la energía del mundo? Hola, mi nombre es Marisa Burres con My Vital C. Nuestra empresa ha estado produciendo durante más de 30 años esta molécula que llamamos ESS60. Ayuda con su visión, ayuda a las articulaciones y la flexibilidad. Ordene My Vital C con ESS60 en aceite de oliva, aceite MCT o aceite de aguacate en nuestro enlace www.vitaless60.com. Contáctanos al 832-463-1919 o al 888-441-1993 o por correo electrónico a marisa@myvitalc.com.
República H, con Sofía García.
Una república que necesita saber cuál es el camino correcto.
En República H te diremos qué pasa en cada rincón del país. ¿Qué pasa en tu estado? ¿Qué hace tu gobernador, presidente municipal o alcalde en materia de seguridad, salud, desarrollo, economía o servicios básicos para atender a su población? Tenemos desplegados más de 70 corresponsales en todo el país y más allá de las fronteras.
República H, de lunes a viernes a las 8 de la noche por Heraldo Televisión.
Stop and think. How often do you take the time to set goals? And when you set those goals, how often do you hit them? The problem is the word goal setting. We all have goals, but goals are just wishes. Goals are what we want. What we really need is called result setting. My name is Katrin Becker, and what I do is create tailor-made result plans that ensure people will hit their targets. If you are committed for real results, let's chat and see which program is right for you and your team. Goals are just what we want, but together, results are what we will achieve.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. If you are just joining us or just tuning in, you're going to want to go to NowMedia.tv, click on shows, go to the show, and watch the first segment, because we're here in studio with Jackie Spillman, and she has given us all kinds of value. She started by talking about how important it is to get in touch with our goals. At the end of the day, so that we're really ready to go and write our goals for the next day. That way the next morning, if we get up and we're a little sluggish or we're not sure where we want to start, we already have that lined up and ready to go. She also talked to us about time blocking and how important it is to know what you're doing at what time so you can be fully present, whether it's fully present in your business, really working on it so that it can grow, or fully present with our family so that we don't feel that guilt when we're on full business mode. We're able to spend that full present time with our family after hours and really have that kind of work-life balance or work-life integration. And she also talked about the importance of having a supportive community and having the right coaches and mentors and the right people in your corner, in your support network, because entrepreneurship is hard and sometimes we need that. We need those cheerleaders. We need those people to give us a little kick in the pants so we can keep on going. So definitely check out the first segment if you did not see that and you're just tuning in. But we're going to dive right back into this conversation. And I think I'm going to ask Jackie a little bit about lifelong learning. I know, Jackie, that you are a lifelong learner and that entrepreneurship, if we're not growing, our business is actually dying. And so talk to me a little bit about how you stay on top of your game. What are you reading right now? How are you learning and growing so that you can continue to lead from that level? Because you're leading a vast team, actually a national team.
So lifelong learning is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I do read. I think so. Here we are in February, and I think I've already read 5 books. 5 books this year. I'm always reading something. So Grant Cardone, 10X, that was a really, really good book. It just kind of taught me that whatever goals I had, they weren't big enough. Multiply them by 10, and then be willing to do 10 times the amount of work to make sure that you achieve those goals. I also read a really interesting book by Tim Grover. It was called Winning. He took a look at Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and 2 phenomenal basketball superstars. But he analyzed their life. He was their personal trainer. He analyzed their life, and he kind of gave us an inside look at the things that gave them the winning edge. So that's something we're all after. We all want to win. So yeah, that book was amazing. And then just finished reading The One Thing, and I love the whole purpose of that book. The question that you ask yourself is, what one thing can I do such that doing that one thing, it makes everything else easy or not necessary? So that's something that I've implemented and I've started doing, and honestly, that's another thing that really led to the time blocking. Once I realized how important it was to block that time off, it just made everything else so much easier.
And so the one thing was time blocking to make sure we were fully present and fully focused, that we were laser focused on what we're doing so we meet our goals both in business and life.
Exactly.
That is a win. And I know that we on this show a lot of times compare athletes to entrepreneurs, because the reality is, as entrepreneurs, we're like the top of our game. You cannot be a successful entrepreneur if you're not looking for that edge and pushing for that win. We call it goals. We set goals and strategic action plans and all the things, but really we're business athletes. That's what entrepreneurs are. We're business athletes. Yeah. So I really like that you brought that up. So if you didn't catch that, it was Winning was the book about Michael Jordan, and the other book was The One Thing. I've actually got that one on my bookshelf. I read it last year and it's on my queue because I remember it being pretty impactful for me. And the fun thing is, when I read a book again, I always find something else that I can implement and add to it. I read Profit First at the beginning of every year because it helps me to remember, let's bring in the cost structure. Things that we know as entrepreneurs, but it's just that extra kick in the pants to get it done. So I really, really like that you are the lifelong learner and continually implementing. So if you're at home, like, what Jackie said was so critical. She doesn't just read the book, she implements it. She finds what way she can actually put that into her business. And that's actually how you are winning, Jackie. Like, that is winning. So we talked a little bit about lifelong learning. And before the break, you also talked a little bit about how marketing is that one thing that you've really been focused on in your business for your business growth right now. Let's dive into that a little bit, because you have a unique industry and you do mobile notary, which is such an interesting need, and it's become even greater of a need since pandemic. So Talk to me a little bit about what does marketing look like? How has that changed for you?
So one of the things that I never wanted to do was marketing. I didn't want anything to do with sales. And so here I am. I own my own business. I have to sell my business. One thing that I was really surprised about was how receptive people were to the phone calls and the emails. And so when the market shifted and when a lot of the business that I had went away, I started reaching out to different title companies, and I was just positively surprised with how receptive they were to just having a conversation with me. And I think some of the things that we're doing in our business, we're adding value to title companies. We're giving them something of immense value that is helping them keep their customers happy. So the service that we provide, it's important. And, not everybody can get into a title office. So when they can't get into a title office, escrow officers are calling companies just like mine to make sure that the clients can close at a time and location of their choosing.
I think that's really, really fascinating. I want to point out something that you said because I think it's really gold for anybody who's watching or listening, especially our business owners out there. What you said is you're adding value to your clients' clients, right? Exactly. You're adding value to the title companies whose clients are ultimately buying the house or signing or refinancing the house. So your process is actually adding value to them by helping their end user. And so many times in business-to-business companies, we forget that the end user is actually a client or a customer at the end of the day. There's always a person at the other end of that transaction, and you've kind of closed the gap and provided that value. So let me ask you, like when you were looking at this business, because this is something I get asked a lot too, how do you choose what business or how do I know what problem to solve? How did you come up with the mobile notary? Like, what was that process for you? How did you find the gap and decide that that was the solution that you were going to provide?
So I actually stumbled into the business. I had a friend that told me about becoming a loan closer for real estate transactions. I gave it a try and I absolutely loved it. But I quickly realized that not all notaries were created equal. Not all notaries were doing the same thing. And some notaries understood the assignment. They understood how important it was to make sure that you were dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and making sure that that file is completely executed, but at the same time providing a level of service that the buyers are actually happy with. Because let's not forget, this is their closing. Mm-hmm. So we don't purchase homes every day. As loan closers, we're closing these every single day, but this is a life event for them. So remembering that, celebrating them, and remembering what that closing table represents. That's everyone's hard work. The escrow officers have worked hard. The loan officers have worked hard. There's appraisers, there's realtors. Everybody's work comes together at the closing table. So representing them well is incredibly important to me. And when I realized that I could provide this service to escrow officers, it kind of just took off from there.
And you do it so well. And I think something that you do very well and that your notaries all do is that you educate through the process. You go through, you dot every I, you cross every T, and sometimes the person's buying their first home, they don't really even know what it is that they're signing, and you guys take that extra care, that extra effort, and you do it in a place that they're comfortable with, and so I think that's really a great offering. It's a great way to set yourself apart in the marketplace. And I'm going to ask you, is that what has allowed your rapid expansion and growth? Was it that kind of UVP where you go the extra mile for the clients that allowed you to grow so rapidly?
Absolutely. I think it's just going above and beyond. And considering the fact that these are actual people in this transaction. So, that has just allowed us to, take a lot of ground and it's just given us a leg up.
Absolutely. And so before the break, you were talking about how important it was to have communication, right? Because sometimes when we're starting up a business, or even when we're at that inflection point, right? When we know we're hitting that growth and we're about to bend that growth curve, it requires a lot more time and effort. I call that a sprint in our business, right? A business is a marathon, but there's points in time where you sprint. You sprint at the beginning. You sprint when you're in that growth curve. You sprint when there's a pivot that's required. So how important is your communication and the education piece? Like, how important is that to building the relationships that you've built with your title and escrow officers? What does that look like? Talk to me a little bit about how you were able to build those relationships rapidly, especially during your pivot, so that you can continue to be successful.
So, building it nationally was a little bit more challenging, and I had to be a little bit more creative about how I would go about doing that. But, utilizing Zoom when I can, but just making sure that we stay in touch, responding to emails in a timely manner, and checking in to make sure that they've got everything they need. And then once we've done our job, soliciting feedback. We're asking them, is there anything that we could do to make things better for you? What could we do that would make your life easier?
And I think that's a part that a lot of entrepreneurs miss. I mean, I coach hundreds of entrepreneurs every single year, and one of the things that they're always surprised at is I'm like, go to your customers, ask them, what could you do better? What other services are you looking for? What is your next pain point, and how can we, collapse that time for you, give you time, give you more money, solve those pain points. And it's something that's always kind of an aha, which surprises me because it's something that's very important to me. Like in our coaching conversations, even with existing clients, before we're even done with the coaching container, if you will, we're always asking for feedback. Because that's how we're able to even get better and grow. So I really think it's fascinating that you've been able to sort of like crack that code and do it not only locally but nationally over Zoom, which I'm still hearing. I can't tell you how many times I hear we need to meet in person. Yeah. We can't build a relationship unless we're in person, but that's just not true. So tell me a little bit about what is different in the national, the Zoom world, if you will. Is it a longer time to build the relationship? What does that look like, and how is that different than an in-person building the relationship?
So honestly, I probably would have said it's going to be a lot longer, but it is not. I mean, I'm finding that the relationships that I'm building over Zoom are every bit as impactful and important as the ones that I'm able to build in person. I'm meeting a lot of people. We're talking, and we're finding that we have common interests. So, those are things that we have that we can talk about. But yeah, we're able to build those relationships over Zoom much quicker than I anticipated.
And it's just that follow-up. It's that follow-up and follow-through, those touch points that are so important, especially in a digital world. Like we are looking for that human interaction, right? That's what relationships are. So are your touch points different? I'm really curious because I do almost all of my stuff virtually. So I don't generally have someone who's got both in their corner at the same time. So does it look different, your follow-up touch points once you've had your Zoom call and you're building the relationship? Like, does it look different whether they're an in-person or a Zoom relationship?
It does look different. Now, the ones that are in person, the ones that are local, we pop into the office maybe for, drop-off breakfast or something like that. Now, for the national clients, the ones that are out of state, that does look different. We're calling them, we're trying to set up a meeting with them, and just trying to stay connected with them. I do find that there's a little bit of distance. The clients that are off-site, I do find that it's a little bit harder.
A little bit harder.
Yeah.
I've come with some kickback. I've had people say, "Oh no, you have to be local," and I'm like, "Really? Like, business is business. I'm looking at your business. I'm looking at your numbers. I'm listening to what you're doing. I'm cyber stalking you and finding all your marketing and everything that you're putting out there and coming together with, hey, like this is the best strategic plan to move forward, or we really need to change this here because this is confusing your customers." It doesn't require anything in person, but you're right. Sometimes there is a little bit of resistance if we're not local. And so I've really given a lot of thought to that, and it's curious. Do you find that it's an age range or a like generational thing, or does it span all generations in your business?
I think it spans all generations. I'm part of the older generation. I didn't grow up with computers. But I can navigate Zoom. I mean, sometimes there's a technical issue or something like that. But I'm finding that, no matter the age, People are willing to connect. They want to connect, and making yourself available makes it so much easier.
Yep, and those young ones, they don't remember the dial-up age. Like
don't.
when we were in college and that came into being, that whole slowly loading the page, it loads 96% and then collapses. You have no idea. Awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed following your journey. I've really enjoyed building the relationship with you. And so, what you offer is really good. I love that you're able to find the gap. You're able to deliver excellence. You really, really over-deliver, which is something that really we talk about a lot on this show. And you've been able to grow. You've been able to grow locally and nationally and continue even in a challenging market. So thank you so much for your insights. I really appreciate it. I know that lots of people are watching, listening, and they want to know a little bit about how can they find you. Like if they are curious or they want to learn more about mobile notary, or if they want to learn a little bit more about, closing a real estate transaction, and you are the preferred mobile notary for closing real estate transactions, how can they reach out to you?
So the best place is on the internet. Just go to LoneStarSigning.com, and Lone Star is spelled just like the Lone Star State, LONE, LoneStarSigning.com.
Fantastic. So if you're curious, you're watching, you're listening, and you're like, wait, I want to learn a little bit more about this. Jackie is amazing. She is always there for a conversation. She's very much a relationship person, and she's not afraid to have a conversation with anybody in any business because would you agree, Jackie, that we never know who holds our next best connection? It doesn't matter what industry they're in, really.
Exactly. It's about the journey.
Yep, and the power of networking. You mentioned networking earlier. I can't even tell you how important that is because we met and we've both connected each other to other people that would we not have had that conversation because you're in real estate and I'm over here in business coaching. Like we're not necessarily power sphere like key referral partner like strategic partners in our respective industries, but we both have networks, and so we've been able to kind of like bridge those gaps and offer some value to each other.
Yeah.
And so I guess the next question I have before we wrap, because we are getting a little short on time, is how can some of our viewers and listeners start those relationship conversations? Because you are excellent at building a relationship very rapidly. If they're a little hesitant, or they don't know how to get that ball rolling, like what is some tip that they can start with that they can put into action today and get that ball rolling?
So first of all, joining a great networking group would be number one, but also warming up that lead a little bit. I mean, go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, find the person that you want to connect with and just get to know a little bit about them, from social media, and don't be afraid to reach out to them.
I love it. No fear. Don't be afraid to reach out. Go get it. And so I'm going to ask you another question that I haven't asked in a little while on this show. If you could go back to the version of you that was just starting your business and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Join a networking group first.
Oh, interesting.
I would have done that first. Yeah, it really has made everything so much easier.
Fantastic. So you heard it here from Jackie, folks. Join a networking group first. Jackie, you've been so amazing. It's been amazing to have you in here. You've been great. You've just added so much value. We've talked about time blocking and purpose and goals and setting yourself up for success. We've talked about how to go national. We've talked about so many things. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And you, yes, you, if you have been on this, listen to this, watch this show, you know that knowledge is only a small part of the equation. This little bitty piece is the knowledge, but where the magic happens is the whole rest of it by taking action. Jackie gave you a couple of really good ideas to take action. If you're afraid of that cold outreach, or you're not prospecting, or you have low sales and low marketing, don't be afraid to identify who are your next 100 clients or 10 clients. Start with 10. Who are your next 10 clients? Go find them online, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Find them on social media, do some research and reach out and just say, hey, look, I really like what you're doing here. I see that your business is doing this, and start the conversation. If that is your action step, go do it today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Because today is the only day, right now, this moment is the only moment that we have. And if we take action now, that action will accumulate over time as we just repeat the process. And after all, here we are here to grow together, for iron to sharpen iron, so that we can grow our businesses and improve not only our businesses, but our lives. So unfortunately, all good things do come to an end. But good news is we'll be here same time, same station next week. But go win today, go win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a NowMedia Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Un equipo de impuestos es clave para cualquier negocio exitoso. En LMS Group, nuestro objetivo es garantizar que nuestros clientes cumplan totalmente con el IRS, así como desarrollar estrategias tributarias que produzcan rentabilidad, sostenibilidad y crecimiento. Cualquier responsabilidad o problema con el IRS que no se atiende de inmediato se convierte en problema grave, como cuentas bancarias congeladas, gravámenes fiscales y el embargo de sus ingresos. De hecho, cuanto más deje desatendido ese problema con IRS, peor se volverá. En LMS Group tenemos la experiencia para abordar y resolver ese problema tributario de manera rápida y efectiva. Llame a nuestros expertos y permita que en LMS Group seamos parte de su éxito.
The tax and bookkeeping team is key to any successful business. At Gunderson's Bookkeeping, our passion is to help small business owners grow, be profitable, and to prosper. We specialize in supporting small to mid-sized business owners who want to hire a full-time or even a part-time bookkeeper, but just do not have the funds. In addition, we free business owners from the tedious tasks of bookkeeping and help them focus on their business operations, their growth, and profitability. Gunderson's Bookkeeping is your business solutions partner, offering a broad range of services to meet the needs of our clients. A profitable business needs accurate and reliable books, so take a strong step and call us today for your personal, no-risk consultation.
Are you considering selling more than likely what is the most expensive investment, your home, now or in the near future? Before you throw away precious equity down the drain and live to regret it, I'd like to share with you 5 reasons why you need to stage your space, whether living in it or selling it vacant. Hello, I'm Kat Trelinos, President, Master Staging Professional, and CEO of Tada by Kat Next Level Staging and Design. Number 1, you need to stage because you'll make more money. According to the National Association of Realtors, more than 5 to 20% more staged. Number 2, so buyers can visualize the staged property as their next home. Stage because number 3, not staging will only help sell your competition stage homes. Successful realtors know that the key to competing is professional staging because it creates great online presentations, drives buyer traffic to the home, and brings the highest offers. Number 4, stage because it makes the home seem larger when strategic placement and flow are created with proper staging. And number 5, stage because then you can relax, knowing you've done everything possible to get a quick sale, not leave any money on the table. Let our award-winning team bring the magic of next-level staging to your property today. Be prepared to be Tarad. You'll be glad you did.
Hola mi gente bella, soy Saralina Cerón y quiero invitarte para que participes en la segunda edición del Congreso Internacional de Bienestar y Belleza el próximo 2 y 3 de abril en el Centro de Convenciones de Pasadena en Houston, Texas. Expertos en la salud y belleza de otros países se reunirán en nuestra ciudad para enseñarte cómo cuidar la vitalidad de tu cuerpo y tu belleza. Si quieres participar en la Expo Wellness Latino, aún puedes reservar un stand para promocionar tu producto o servicios. Ahí podrás encontrar proveedores de la más alta calidad. Con tu aporte ayudarás a que pacientes con escasos recursos económicos que han sido diagnosticados con cáncer, ansiedad, depresión, dolor crónico y de la tercera edad tengan acceso gratuito a terapias musculares y holísticas. La misión de Liz Wellness es la organización a la cual pertenezco para llevar bienestar y alivio a los más necesitados. Para más información, entra a nuestra página web www.congresolatinousa.com o escribe un mensaje de texto vía WhatsApp al 832-856-5074. Recuerda, soy Saralina Cerón, CEO de la Fundación Liz Wellness y directora del Congreso Latino USA.
Según el FBI, un robo ocurre cada 13 segundos. Los hogares y negocios sin un sistema de seguridad confiable tienen 300% más de probabilidades de ser robados. Alert 360 proporciona soluciones de seguridad sólidas y personalizadas a clientes residenciales y comerciales, ya sea seguridad en el hogar, detección de incendios y monóxido de carbono, protección contra inundaciones, atención conectada para personas mayores, soluciones de vigilancia administradas por video, monitoreo de alarma las 24 horas al día, 7 días a la semana y seguridad de personas. Alert 360 es su solución ideal. Además, Alert 360 tiene integraciones inteligentes para el hogar y el negocio, para una total tranquilidad, protegiendo lo más importante y reduciendo los costos de energía con nuestras funciones de programación automática de primera línea. Alert 360 ofrece descuentos en servicios de seguridad a personal militar, veteranos, primeros respondientes, educadores y personal hospitalario. No seas víctima, da un paso fuerte hoy. Llame a Rosana Torres al 832-863-8574 para su consulta gratuita.
As a critical aspect of your operations, you need the right technology partner to provide you and your business the peace of mind of having reliable and efficient IT systems. In addition, with cyber threats, ransomware at an all-time high, adequate, continuous, and proactive data protection for your business is an absolute must. Hi, this is Roland Parker with Impress Computer Solutions. We are experts in tailored IT solutions and professional 24/7 IT support services. We proactively monitor, maintain, manage, and protect your IT and data assets. Additionally, we have the know-how and horsepower to do the correct procuring of any and all computer systems or software your company may need. Having the correct IT infrastructure and not being able to operate safely and correctly is very expensive and can eventually destroy growth. So take a decisive step and call me today for a complimentary consultation at 281-647-9977 for your unique IT needs.
Hi there, this is Matthew Paul, CEO of Mayana Financial, where we'll help you live in the black and set up your financial future. You, as a business owner, is running your business and should not be worrying about your upcoming payroll or other expenses. You as a family or individual made a lot of money last year but trying to figure out where everything went. And that's where we come and help you. We are financial coaches and registered financial advisors where we sit with you, create a budget and ensure that your high interest debt is paid off and plan for your upcoming expenses. In your business, we will help you understand where the money is going and create a plan so you don't have to borrow at a high interest debt. We come across and help you to attain your financial future. So if you need to learn more about us, you can reach us at 281-435-1888. Again, I am Matthew Paul, CEO of Mayana Financial, where we help you live in the black and set up your financial future.